Look, I know that sketchbooks in general are technically made from wood because of paper and stuff, yada yada, but when I'm telling you guys that this sketchbook literally has wooden paper, I'm not kidding. And it's something really cool that I've had my eye on for quite a while, specifically for a few reasons, and I'll go into that later, but I thought it would be quite fun to kind of try this out with you guys because look at this, isn't this so awesome? Hello everyone and welcome back to my atelier. I hope you're doing well. Today we'll be drawing on this wooden sketchbook. When I saw this online, I just knew I had to get it because it was so unique and I've not really seen anything like this before. In the past, I've painted on wooden panels, but upon kind of having a closer look at this online, I realized that the pages looked really thin and that they most likely don't take wet mediums that well. And I was thinking a lot, this thing, it would look really cool with colored pencil and stuff, right? I feel like this more traditional on top of the already very textured surface would look really awesome. And I did want to do some swatches at first because I do want to kind of explore the different mark making techniques and stuff I can do on there. I think what intrigued me most when I first saw this was the fact that it is such a textured surface. I think I'm often really focused on creating textures through line and through the actual materials that I'm using to draw, but I very rarely actually have a lot of regard for the texture that I'm working on. And a lot of times I see canvas texture, paper texture more of a limitation in my work versus a tool that can be used. And recently when I was kind of experimenting with my art and getting ready to submit my uni portfolios, I've been thinking a lot about why I feel the way that some of these mediums are quote-unquote restricting me when in fact I should be kind of choosing a medium for what it can do for me versus for what it can't do. I hope that makes sense. I bought this sketchbook alongside a glass pen off an online store called Komorebi Stationery. It is a stationery store based in Japan focusing on traditional Japanese stationery, and I love Japanese stationery, so I highly recommend you check them out. This is not sponsored or anything. I bought this with my own money. I feel like I'm really passionate when it comes to branding, because I myself have a business and I'm very serious about branding, and I think the way that this shop is kind of built is done in a very mindful way. So if you would like to learn more about traditional glass techniques especially, I recommend you check them out. Even just reading on their website or their blog, it's really informative and I learned a lot. So I'll link where I got the sketchbook in the description of this video. I think I can do that. So yeah, I'm just telling you right now, I really enjoyed working on this. It might not be for everyone because it is definitely, there's a bit of a learning curve and it does not take a lot of mediums very well. But if you're a fan of unusual art supplies and if you're a fan of texture and trying something new, this was really fun to work with, and I will definitely be hoping to finish the sketchbook. This technique of thinly slicing wood is called kyogi, and apparently it was initially first used by Buddhist monks to describe sutras on, but I personally have seen it used a lot in food wrapping, so I thought that was just really cool that there's multiple uses for it, and I just personally love the way it looks. So my initial thoughts about drawing on this are that I actually kind of like the way ink and waterfall fell on this. It does press through, so the water really seeps into the pages, which I think makes a lot of sense seeing that you're kind of working with actual wood instead of processed paper. It feels a lot more organic and it feels like you're kind of interacting with something not living, but something with its own mind as you're drawing on it, which I personally enjoyed a lot more than I first initially thought. So if you're working on it with ink and paper, definitely remember that this has a mind of its own, and I personally think that's really beautiful and a great exercise as an artist. I usually don't do illustrations in full colored pencil just because I mainly like the way they look when they're layered on top of watercolors or ink. But I decided to go in with fully colored pencil just this time around, just to kind of see how it looks and interacts with kind of filling whole surfaces. And can I just say, I love the kind of texture this kind of overlay creates. If some of you like working digitally and like overlaying like paper or other textures on top of your artwork once you're done, I feel like you would really enjoy it because you get a very similar effect to this. It reminds me a lot of like, you know, when you're standing and there's like two different light sources hitting you, so your like shadows overlap. I hope that makes sense. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit, and I really like that. Because the sketchbook is literally made out of wood, I decided to kind of keep my woodlands theme in, and I think I will be using the sketchbook mainly for world building purposes, specifically for earth magic or plant magic specifically. I have an ancient witch that's kind of like woodlands themed, and she was like the quote-unquote pioneer of human plant magic, and she created or like was part of founding the human kingdom that's based in woods. So I really want to use the sketchbook to kind of work that out a little bit more. And I don't know, I just think it's really fitting with like the wood texture accompanying you through the story. And I'll definitely make like a more narrative sketchbook tour once I'm done with this, because I don't know, I'm just really excited for it. This is really cool. I also wanted to do a little bit of more of a study with the glass pen I also ordered. I will be making a video on glass pens in the future because I really love working with them recently. Glass pens and like dip G pens. I don't know, something about the dipping medium recently has been really appealing to me, and I've been really enjoying it. So yeah, maybe next week, we'll see. But one thing that you have to be conscious with ink is that ink can be very light or very heavy bodied depending on how you use it. So like at this point it pressed through on some parts of the page, but that was mainly to me being more heavy handed. You can definitely like not get it to press through if you're just a bit more light-handed, not necessarily even careful, just more light-handed with it. But I wanted to kind of achieve a certain texture that you just need more ink for. So that's just something to keep in mind. Even looking back at this now, I'm still thinking of like all the possibilities this could hold. I kind of want to try collaging on top of it. Oh, by the way, if anyone wonders about like tearing and stuff, it is wood. It is really hard to quote unquote like get like a tear in this paper. This paper will, well, this page, it'll like split if you're not careful with it, but it won't like tear the way a piece of paper will tear. And I think that just is another attribute of its wooden thing. So yeah, I just thought that was really cool. It happened to me a little bit. I would definitely recommend, if you do end up getting it, to kind of keep it in the paper sleeve it comes in, just for protection purposes. Wood is quite a porous material, so it does take whatever you give it. So it might just be better to kind of protect it from wind and weather a little bit. Also, another thing that I noticed about this, which I thought was really cool, is that there's definitely a with and against the grain kind of thing, and I really realized that when I was working on it with the colored pencil. So this is just sliced wood basically, so you do have a grain and you do have a directional grain that the wood goes in. So depending on when you're like coloring with colored pencil, if you're going with the grain or against the grain, you will get different textures. And I think that opens up a lot of opportunity for like monochromatic drawings, not just because of the beautiful wood texture in the back, but also just about the variety of textures that you can get with this. So if you're into like experimenting, or even if you're just into like observational sketches, this is really cool. I think I want to take this out to like draw plants with, just with like pencil. I want to do pencil. Okay, I'm getting ideas as I'm speaking, but yeah, I don't know. I think if you're kind of an on-the-go kind of person and you only want to draw with like one or two colors, this is a really interesting way to get in like, I don't know, variety. I liked it a lot. I did a little starter page for a sketchbook. I tend to only do that on sketchbooks that I'm sure that I'm gonna like continue. Otherwise I just keep them as kind of like experimental like paper thingies. But I do want to continue this, so I did a little starting page. Overall, this was really fun to work with. It was quite different from what I expected, and the pages are a lot thinner than I thought at first, so I was really surprised on how thin you can actually get these wood shavings. I really liked how the process of drawing this felt more like a conversation with the medium instead of just me drawing whatever I wanted. The process feels very alive, so to say. So if you're like into that consider picking up one of these, or maybe even just try drawing on wood. I don't know. Let me know if you have any textures that you like working on. I personally love a lot of like toned paper and stuff, so I'm quite a fan of the wooden texture too. And yeah, see you around. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and yeah, thank you for watching.